well, man.
What's your name?
My name is Cardi Cornish.
And you a legend?
I'm a legend.
You a legend here in Baltimore City. Where we at right now?
We live in the 17, Pennsylvania Avenue. The legendary Pennsylvania Avenue.
Man, the last time I saw you here, you were doing something just across the street here. What were you doing?
Oh yeah, I had some food left over from an event. We brung it out. We fed a couple of people, man.
Why you do that?
Nice soul food.
Why you do that?
Man, the love that God has shown me in Christ, man, it overflows. That's how it overflows.
Yes, sir.
We got more than we can use.
It already was high within San Antonio, Winchester community, but the age group is getting younger. Children under the age of 18 being murdered in San Antonio has a high peak right now. So our goal is to catch the children.
You going hard, man. You going hard on that man today. So what do you think, Mr. Mayor? You got manufacturing right here, helping our young people despite all of the challenges in the city of Baltimore, right here on North Avenue.
No, it's really about the growth. Just knowing where, being there when they were down in Port Covington and seeing how far it's grown. Like you said earlier, like getting the sorbet, you know, where we got the sorbet at the beginning, but now being able to, when I'm at Cannon Yards, get it, or anytime I'm down at Harbor Place to get it, and folks to not even know, but they gonna know now that like this is coming from young people in West Baltimore, right there in West Baltimore on North Avenue, where they think nothing great comes from, but they can see it in what the young people do.
Here on the Pike, Mississippi, now right here, French Lord Mathis. A beautiful town, just leaving Algiers, which is an update 10 years since Katrina.
It's a smile on your face. And as time goes by, I know I'm in a better place. I'm in a better place.
All right, y'all, this is what I came to New York for. Besides the Black Wall Street Awards, we're going ahead and get some of this real good jerk chicken. Johnny Glover, out.
Your skin, just the touch of your hand makes me tremble within.
But we need to feed our loved ones. DOTS needs to rescind this package policy program so that our loved ones are able to eat every day in that filthy facility that they...
We have some stars in the building.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover, entered the winning for the long haul, baby. This is going to be a very, very special show today. Joining us is the one and only Michael Haney. Hello, Mr. Haney.
Hey, Donnie, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Good to be seen. Good to be in front of your audience, man. Welcome back. I see you've been working hard.
Yes, sir. We also are joined by Martin Mitchell, the cannabis councilman.
How y'all doing?
Hey, Councilman Mitchell, how you doing, sir? Good to see you. Been a while.
Still black and thriving. You know, staying busy.
Mike, guess where I will be tonight?
Where will you be tonight, Donnie?
I will be at the Pratt Library, Central District, giving away copies of this book.
6:45, I saw that. I got to get by there.
Yes, sir. Really proud to be down at the Pratt, man. Not everybody gets to get down there.
And that's at the Central Pratt branch, right? The Central one, the Central branch?
Yes, sir.
That's huge, Donnie. Not everybody gets to the Central Pratt branch. Most of us don't even get out of the Evanston Village Pratt branch.
Yes, sir. I want to take a moment and thank you, Mr. Haney, for sponsoring this network.
Hey, Donnie, it's my pleasure, man. Like I always say about you, you are our mogul here locally for Black media. Black media is so crucial, and we saw that Sunday on 60 Minutes in Black America, a show inspired by you, which we had pastors in the pulpit talking about politics in the pulpit, man, nationwide, get thousands of viewers, man. It's unbelievable. And I thank you for that inspiration to do that show, man.
Give me an update on Kenya.
Hey, matter of fact, Donnie, at 11:30, we have a Kenya call. We have a call weekly. We're heading to Dubai. We launched on February 14th of this year a call center, which is a collaboration between 4 Kenyan nationals and myself. And we're thriving, man. So the realness of us collaborating with our brothers and sisters in Africa has become real for us here in Baltimore. Got a couple Baltimoreans helping us on that project. Matter of fact, Attorney Bob DeShield is our attorney here in America. So things are going well in Kenya. I'm heading back over there in February. I was supposed to be going over there this November, but we're heading to Dubai to attend GTEX conference, looking for some business from some of these large corporations here in America.
That's awesome. Councilman, give us an update. What have you been working on?
So as of late, I've been working with Life After Release. If you're not familiar, it's a re-entry organization, basically helping our brothers and sisters return home, making sure that they have essential support services in the network. And also they come home, some brothers and sisters, while they're still in a carceral state, whether it be health support, whether it be helping with social bios. There's a lot that the organization does, and right now they're focused on a lot of election related stuff. So I've been helping them plan a Black Votes Matter bus tour because they are partnering with Black Voters Matter Fund, and they are visiting Maryland this week. And so we'll be at Iverson Mall on Thursday with Black Voters Matter, and they'll bring the tour buses, and we'll have a go-go band and food and giveaways. And then we're also coming to Mandamin Mall on Friday, so we'll be at Mandamin Mall with Ayo Shags, if you know that the Park Heights strut. So we'll be out there, and so that's what I've been busy with. But also, been doing some union work, working with the unions. They have a lot of electoral work they're doing now, trying to get their labor to labor programs off to support their candidates who support labor.
So, gentlemen, I called on you somewhat last minute because the featured guest today just drove back from Boston, and I knew she was going to be a little tardy. But today is a very important day because we have to discuss this debate tonight. I've been seeing in the news about Project 2025, but nonetheless, I want you to help me welcome to the show for the first time ever a mentee of mine from 20 years ago. I met her, she was going to Goucher, and she's now an entrepreneur. So without further ado, I introduce to you Pincess Williams.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for having me.
Why you hiding your face?
Good morning. Good morning.
That's it.
So tell them about yourself, Pincess.
Okay, so my name is Pincess T. Williams, and thank you so much, Donnie Glover, for the introduction. I so sincerely appreciate it. So about 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of mentoring with none other than Donnie Glover. And at that time, Donnie Glover was a great mentor to me. I was a student at Goucher College. He taught me a lot about what it means to own a business, work hard for oneself, and then also serve the Black community. I have a business called Voiceover Inspires Entertainment, and I was honestly just inspired to start it so that I could be an inspiration to others. And I thank you, Donnie, this morning for inviting me to be a part of today's show. Donnie is right. Yesterday, I traveled 13 hours from Boston, Massachusetts. I just got back at like 2 o'clock in the morning And yes, I'm glad to be here. I'm alive. I'm awake, and I'm coming live to you from my broadcast quality studio. So good morning, and thank you for having me.
Tell them
How's
about the.
Boston? How's Boston?
You know, Boston is a wonderful city. I love Boston. It's my hometown. The reason I went to Boston is one of my dearest friends from high school. His father passed away, and they had Shiva on Sunday, and I just, determined and felt very obligated to attend. His father was a huge philanthropist to my high school, Beaver Country Day in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. And so I went back home to be with my peers and friends whom I attended high school with for a few hours. And so I made the journey on Saturday, started Saturday. And so that's a long trip in about less than 3 days. 13 hours yesterday and then another 10 hours the day before. So, I'm again grateful, blessed, happy to be here, but I was doing that journey with the 3-year-old in the back seat.
Wow.
So,
I used to live in Back Bay, Roxbury, Cambridge. Boston is a very interesting city, the bastion of education in the United States and liberalism, but also Southie, right? Interesting city up there in Boston, huh?
yeah, oh yes. Don't ask me. I'm in love with Boston. However, personally that's where I was born and raised, and I am very familiar with many of the places you named. So I'm familiar with Back Bay, and I'm familiar with Mattapan, Roxbury, and Dorchester. I grew up in Dorchester. It's where I still have family. And I also continue to have family in Roxbury, Mattapan. I've lived in Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester, so I can totally relate. But what makes Boston interesting, I should say, is it's my opinion that Boston is a very diverse place to live. And also, when it comes to commuting around the city. It has a very fantastic public transportation system, making it so that one does not have to have a vehicle to get around, which I think is a really nice quality for a large metropolitan like Massachusetts. And the other thing about Boston that I love, it's very progressive thinking. Um, you know, there's a strong emphasis placed on having an education, and then for me, I learned to think outside of the box. Um, you know, consider my worldview, not just what's in front of me. Try to have a larger impact on the greater society. And so, yeah, so being here today and seeing all of you and Donnie Glover is truly a pleasure. I look up to Donnie Glover. He's taught me so much. He's always working, has 3 books. I'm just so in awe of him. And I hope that one day I can, make an impact, leave my little footprint on society with my voiceover business. So thank you.
I can't wait to talk to you about Boston politics. When I was up there, I attended Northeastern University. Boston was
Ah,
the bastion of segregationists, and the 12% of us African Americans up there didn't think it was very progressive at all. But obviously, the city has changed
mhm.
immensely. But it wasn't that way. But I'm probably a generation or two ahead of you. But Boston had us all running from it at the conclusion of our education to spread to the world,
Yes.
what liberalism really looked like and fairness, equality, and desegregation really looked like because it wasn't up there in Boston at that time.
So, what's your opinion if you had to summarize it in maybe 2 words of the political environment of Boston, Massachusetts that you are familiar with? What would you say that is?
Well, I was somewhat mesmerized and confused by Tip O'Neill, Mike Dukakis, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Edward Kennedy as liberals, but yet, I was called nigga up there every day when I was up there in school. You understand the story, and I spent a considerable amount of time in Boston, and I went back up there to run a business, and the atmosphere, to your point, has begun to change. But Boston was the epitome of the Democratic Party rule and understanding of what liberalism was back in the 60s and 70s, but it was very contradictory in terms of how Boston politics ran itself. You know what I'm saying? So Whitey Bulger, the mafia guy up there, and you talk about the various mayors, and but Boston has changed. I mean, they had the second, the third governor. He wasn't elected. Patrick, right? Patrick was the governor up there, right? Black governor, wasn't elected, appointed, I believe, in these United States.
Patrick Duval, you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. I'm with you.
Yeah, but people like yourself, African Americans like yourself, which at that point I was up there, African Americans in Boston were not very participatory in the political system because they felt overwhelmed, only being 12%, that they just wanted to settle and get along, go along to get along. But obviously, people like you, Princess, have evolved Boston to a point where there's a lot more credibility in its politics than it used to be.
So let's, Martin, I wanted to ask you about Project 2025, your thoughts on it.
My thoughts on it is, it's no different than the bills that more conservative think tank groups, give Republican, legislatures to pass. Is something we should be concerned about because it has a lot of overarching implications for the American economy, the American people, education. Um, so I think that there's a lot we should be concerned about with it.
Mike, you know anything about Project 2025? And I say that because tonight, all day today, I saw a news clip where the Democrats are pushing that out there. Tonight, you have the debate, and they're using today to bring attention, trying to build some momentum, trying to build a snowball, trying to build, some momentum to wake people up, because this is a serious election coming up. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. Your thoughts?
Hey, so Donnie, I appreciate your question, man, and you're right. It's about the education of our people, which is the importance of shows like this, so that we understand the real deal. Have you heard of the Heritage Foundation? The Heritage Foundation, the Heritage Foundation, the Heritage Foundation, right? Let's Google and look at that so that our politics are more in tune to the historical value of projects like 2025, because the Heritage Foundation wrote something similar under President Reagan, of which he used 60% of their project 1994, however you want to describe it. So it's important to us to understand the intrinsic value of these conservative think tanks, right, that press their agenda on our democracy, right, as a result of the dollar. Because if you take it, we'll pay you, as it relates to Donald Trump's presidency. And if you don't take our model of what democracy looks like, in our opinion, Heritage Foundation, then we're not going to give you the money to run. So while Donald Trump can't publicly say that he endorses Project 2025 because it is deep as a document. I have the document downloaded, all 925 pages or thereabout, and it is compelling of a document, and not all of it is bad when you look at the context of running this country, Donnie. But Heritage Foundation is something that we should Google and understand who these people are.
Princess, you know anything about it?
Yes. My understanding of Project 2025, in a nutshell, is that it's considered a political initiative promoted by conservative and right-wing policies in efforts to reshape the United States federal government and consolidate power, with favoritism towards the Trump administration. It gained speed in, let's say, in terms of Trump and his right-wing views in 2022, and it's based on publishings from the Mandate for Leadership series as part of the Heritage Foundation, which the Trump administration is seeking to adopt and potentially modify in order to fit the scope of his policies and politics. I think the question today is, um, does Project 25 align with the values of the American people? And how forward thinking is it? I think those are some questions that are going to potentially come up if I were to kind of uh, truncate some of it. But it's a conservative program with regard to the Trump administration and how he supports it and how he seeks to change it and what his thoughts are on it. Yeah.
One of the things it plans to, that's in the plan is changing the federal government.
Yes. So Donnie, can I interject?
Please.
One of the points made is that it's going to shape the federal government. I do believe that it would shape the federal government, but it's going to have overarching implications on the state, local, and county government, and infrastructure as a whole, right? One example, right? We're talking about what do they call them? Civil servants, the people who work for the government, and they essentially, I know they're going to change, or they have plans to change that, especially if you're not favorable to Donald Trump or more conservative policies. Right here in that region, we have so many people who work for the federal government. So imagine if there was just a layoff of all of those workers at one time, right? Like that could be catastrophic for the area, for the region, So
and
it
you're
will
in
shape the federal government.
you're on Prince George's County, and there are many federal employees in that part of the DMV.
Yes, very much so.
I mean, can you imagine that, Mike? Everybody having to reapply for their jobs.
Donnie, I hear you. Some of the mandates of 2025, immigration reform, education reform, protecting the unborn lives, things that are fundamentally the foundation for the Democratic Party, because we're servicing and talking about two Americas, in my opinion, Princess, right? And Martin, when you talk about the federal employee, let's take a look at DC. They're not going anywhere. DC is the largest formal plantation in the world, man, which was created as a model to support the federal government. When they decide to house our capital in the nation's capital, they intentionally brought almost 70 to 80% Black people up there to service it because they knew that they needed people to help run it. So that aspect of it, I don't believe is attainable. But when you look at protecting unborn lives or the woman's right to choose, which I have my own personal opinion of, when you look at eliminating the IRS, hey, who of us may not be happy with that, right? And the Department of Education, we're servicing two Americas. We're servicing two Americas. So what is it that's important to the America that we live in and continue to fight for equality versus the America that people that support Donald Trump and people that support the Democratic Party look like too? Because all people that are Democrat aren't necessarily of what it is that we see that is equal and fair as a people.
Okay, I mean, I agree with you. So are we going to say that ideologically, of course, we don't agree with, some of their positions probably on, the woman's right to choose and things of that nature, but we don't believe that their views on changing the structure of the federal government employee is actually going to go through, or I guess we don't think that will ever happen. There's going to be too much blowback. Is that more so your opinion on that? Because I did hear the backstory and the background about it,
Right. Well, first of all, I tend to stick to I versus we, because when you talk about a woman's right to choose and abortion, pro-rights, I just had a show on Sunday with Black preachers, man. We talked about abortion rights and, whether Black people are really, really for that. And it's an important issue for us. You know what I'm saying? And then you look at the logistical opportunity of eliminating federal employees that we just spoke of, right? That's a diversion to me. That's a distraction because it can happen. And if it happens at the levels that we see it at massively, it isn't real, man. It isn't real when you look at all of the Prince George's County and surrounding supportive suburban areas for DC, those black people, those jobs that are support services. Maybe we shouldn't be focusing on that. Maybe we should be focusing on the Department of Education being dismantled. And would we be in a better position to have education? Because Prince George's County, Baltimore City, Dorchester County are the three worst education jurisdictions in the state of Maryland, which happen to be the most majority black jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. So what is the federal government, Department of Education, doing for us in those three jurisdictions of any significance? As an example.
Let's go to Princess. Princess, any thoughts on a woman's right to choose?
I'm a woman, and my personal values are very much consistent with the Obamas. I am pro-choice. And that's just because a lot of it is because I am a woman and I believe that it's my body, and so let me make decisions that will holistically serve me well, whatever that might be, given the circumstances. And I don't believe anyone has the right to tell me what to do with my body. So I'm very much pro-choice, especially since I'm a new mom. I recently gave birth, and a lot of complications can happen post-childbirth. So luckily, my child is very healthy, but there are some women who have experienced, a host of consequences involuntarily. And so I think that the decision regarding a woman's rights, when it comes to pro-choice or not, should be left to that woman. And so this is a huge debate because I've heard some unfortunate rhetoric in our current presidential race, and I just what makes it unfortunate is that it's just mean. Some of the comments that have been made from the Trump administration, mean, hurtful, and I'm not, and by hurtful I mean, whether a woman has kids or not does not dictate her mind or her ability to lead. And Kamala Harris is just as capable as Donald Trump, regardless of the fact that she's a woman. And so some of the rhetoric that I've heard, it comes across as very sexist. It comes across as very denigrating, and it does not promote equality, in my opinion. So if I'm going to be for the right to exercise a lifestyle consistent with what I believe and cherish as an American woman, um, then I believe all people should have access to those same equal rights. And one of the challenges I have with the Trump administration, it goes back to rhetoric. The comments. I believe that one can run a campaign and not be so mean. I don't like the meanness, the bigotry, the unkind comments about the family structure. And what's come out and what I've seen is there are many women who cannot have children. They are just biologically unable to, and I don't believe those women, should be made to feel sad or incapable, or that somehow their choice to be a family of one makes them less competent or capable of running our country. And by family of one, in this instance, Kamala Harris is married, but she does not have kids. And that was brought up in this campaign. And excuse me, I believe that's none of anyone's business personally. On a personal level, I think that's it comes with, for many women who cannot have kids, it's an emotional journey, but many of them yet want them. So I know I probably didn't answer your question as it pertains to Project 2025, but I just think that I think on a social level and just consideration for others, we need to be more considerate and practice greater humanity.
Why do you guys think abortion is such an issue? What's behind it? Is it that white people are not reproducing at the rate of black and brown people, and that by 2040 they'll be outnumbered?
Yeah, so Donnie, first of all, let's look at Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger, who founded it, one of the most avowed racists of her times, right? Let's look at the fact that over 45% of abortions committed in this country are by Black women or women of color, right? And we're only 13% of the population. Let's look at genocide factors potentially. And, to what Princess said, a woman's right to choose, because my personal opinion versus Princess and other women having the ability and the right to choose and answer to their God is none of my business between them and their God, because they have to answer for their decision too. But, killing a baby is killing a baby, in my opinion. And believe me, to her point about Donald Trump, who appeals to, as an example, people in Southie, the Southie that we knew back in the 70s and 80s, and that Princess is aware of, may not have been around when it was at its height of racism and segregation in Boston, which is rampant throughout this country. That's why rhetoric is important, because most of his supporters are uneducated, poor white people that need something to rally around, thinking someone gets more than them that doesn't necessarily look like them. But yet they got here on a free boat over to this country through immigration, but yet they want to build a wall to keep others from coming over here. Pretty profound in terms of Donald Trump's demographics of voters. But, it's a reality here in these two Americas.
Martin, let's hear from you.
So I believe that, you kind of heard my position earlier. I definitely believe in, a woman's right to choose. I do understand, and me being a history minor from Bowie State, know very well the history of Planned Parenthood. The only thing I could say about abortion, it's become highly politicized, and it's always been, a very charged issue, but it's become highly politicized.
So I'm getting that they want black people to have abortions, but they don't want white people to have abortions. Is that it? Is that it? Margaret Sanger said that black people are like weeds that need to be exterminated. And also, that Planned Parenthood, they're a real tricky animal. They'll get a black woman CEO to run it. They've gotten the endorsement of famous blacks over the years. But we know at the root of it is eugenics. And I got to tell you guys this. I watched the Dorothy Dandridge movie last night, and she stuck her toe in the pool, just her toe. They drained the pool and scrubbed it. They said it had the assumption that blacks are dirty. And man, it brought tears to my eyes to think that we living in America where white people, not all white people, but a lot of white people were so racist that they drained the entire pool at this Las Vegas hotel just because she stuck her toe in the water. And they made her, they wouldn't let her use the bathroom. They made her pee in a cup. And this was a gorgeous, Michael, I love beautiful black women. Beautiful black woman. That woman suffered. She opened the door for many other people, but she suffered. They made her pee in a cup, Princess. This is Oscar nominated actress, best actress. They treated her like crap. That's the
Donnie, let's be careful about the words was and were, right? Because racism still prevails in America, in my opinion. It may just be more of an institutional jewel, right? than what many of us, many particularly our younger generation, has been exposed to. But there is no was or were, and my thoughts about Brown versus Board of Education in the Thurgood Marshall case, and how desegregation was the destruction of Black Wall Street and the Black economy, and the mitigating consequences of that which we thought was good, the lessening of HBCUs with that decision, and teachers in our Black communities, that sometimes you get what you ask for. You get more than what you ask for. So it's separate but equal, an opportunity in these two Americas that we're still fighting over and seeing, because even with the Democratic Party, we're still fighting every 4 years, as a people, for some of the same issues we were fighting for over 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Princess, you look like you had a comment.
Yeah, the subject of pro-choice, a woman's right to keep a baby, to have an abortion or not, because scientifically, there's a lot of research done on, when an embryo becomes um,
A person.
a person or a fetus, and you know, you know, what? Let's just talk about the heartbeat. My heartbeat, in terms of pro-choice, when I think about rape. My issue with the rhetoric of a woman's right to choose is rape. And historically, Black women have been at the forefront of rape when it comes to racism and segregation. We can go back to history books and look at this. Um, and, while I don't want to, bring up all that history,
Bring it up.
I think when I think about my own self, if someone raped me, I would, the question is, what are my rights? Should I, should I have to be forced to,
No.
into a circumstance that I did not put myself into, but yet this man
No.
raped me and probably will never serve time. Will probably never serve time because it's hard to prove. Like so many other areas of abuse involving women, and it's not just women. Men too have been abused. And so my issue with abortion is far expansive. It's a subject that I struggle with because we oftentimes, when I hear it from the political rhetoric, is or from right wing campaigners, is they try to simplify it. They simplify it, and it's not that simple. It's not
Speak
that
about
simple.
it, sister.
It's not that simple. That I carried a baby for 9 months. 9 months, and I had a choice before that baby reached 10 weeks. Was that, and there's a lot of science behind this, in terms of how that baby, not baby, how how it starts. A seed is first planted, but when the minute after intercourse, you get planted, or there's like the sperm and the egg meet, that baby is not yet a baby. It's just not. Scientifically, it's been proven it's not. But I'm a mother, and I do have a baby, and I love my baby. And I carried him for 9 months, and I'm very happy to say that. But not every woman can say that. I know women today going and seeking fertility treatments because they can't have a baby. I know women who have been molested. I know women who have been raped. No, the right to regarding a woman's body, as to what she should do, is her decision. Why? Who raises kids? My mother told me when I was a little girl, and she was very straightforward, and she was right. She said to me, when a woman has a baby with a man, and I'm not denigrating men, there are some great men out there. The bulk and responsibility of child rearing falls on that woman. Women are nurturers biologically. Are all of us nurturers? No, but most of us are. I look at myself, what I've had to forgo as a woman. I've had to leave my job. I'm going to put this out there. I was working for the Social Security Administration in the year 2021. Would you believe they denied me a workplace accommodation to breastfeed my son? Can a man produce breast milk? No, he cannot. But the Social Security Administration in 2021 did not think I needed a workplace accommodation to breastfeed my son during the COVID pandemic because I was at home. No, they made a wrong, erroneous decision. Why? I was overproducing 80 ounces of breast milk a day. Let's think that through. There are women who are 18 years old, 19 years old. There are 14-year-olds, sadly, having babies. 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds. As soon as they get a period. I'm not trying to be ethical here. I'm just looking at the issue. 13-year-olds having babies. They can barely take care of themselves. So what should they do? What should their parents do? That's a deeper issue that requires a personal decision. I don't believe it's my right to influence that decision, which is why I am pro-choice. But I am pro-choice because I'm a woman. I have been abused. So I know what that's like. And I'm not just here speaking rhetoric. Many people have been abused. I know what that's like. So for a man to tell me what to do with my body, I have to tell him, back off. This is my body. And, you go back to
Hey,
breast.
well, Princess, why couldn't you
Yeah.
say, hey,
Yes,
why don't we use contraceptive? Hey, I've got some data. I've done a
Contraception
couple.
sometimes.
Hear me out. Hear me out for a second, right? Because I've got some data. I've done plenty of shows on abortion, right? And you're right. As I said earlier, the choice is between the woman and her God. In our community, it's about an educational effort in regards to options and alternatives, because less than 2% of the abortions committed in the Black community are because of women that have been raped. Well, less than 2%. So there's a huge amount of educational opportunity to those 14, 15, and 16-year-olds that you speak of that find themselves in a very erroneous situation of being pregnant. And then the option becomes to have an abortion, and then it goes on and on and on, right? But a woman's right to choose,
Mike, you got to share some of these sources
is
with me.
one thing.
You got to share some of these sources with me, Mike.
Let's put this up. Mike, you're a Catholic, right?
No, I'm not Catholic.
You're not?
I've got the data on Blacks that support abortion, support gay marriage,
he's a Christian.
because gay marriage is another issue politically that's a hotbed for Black people. Black people by nature politically are very conservative when it comes to abortion and when it comes to gay marriage. So we can talk about that as well. And we're immersed in the liberal, white, democratic think tank of what it is that our upbringing teaches us different. And I'm a lifelong Democrat that's now an independent, right? But we have to look at the reality of what has infused our thinking regarding pro-choice and gay marriage. I mean, let's just be real about it and put it on the table so that our viewers can do their education and research themselves and come to their own conclusions and not be influenced by people that go against what we naturally have been brought up as Black people to be.
You know what? I have to say one thing. I keep hearing in this campaign, I've done my research. I've read about it in the book. Oh, let's talk about abortion. I know what abortion is because I read about it in the book. Let's talk about pro-choice. I know what pro-choice is because I read about it in the book. Let's talk about, what it means, to carry a baby. I can talk about it because I read about it in the book. Oh, stop. That's where I stop. The only people who can, on a very firsthand experience level, in my opinion, discuss carrying a baby are the people who carry the baby. It's a personal thing. Hold on. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm almost done. Hold on.
We get ready to unleash your mentee.
Hold on, Mike.
We get ready to expose
I'm with
your
you.
mentee.
Let me tell you. It's the
You
people
didn't
who
have that
carry.
baby
Hold
by
on.
yourself.
You know why? Because the problem with this campaign, I have to stop you right there. The problem with, listen, I'm going to be honest with you because I'm open book. When you talk about abuse, I've been molested.
What does that mean?
Stop. Because let me tell you something. We read books. I'm an educated woman. I went to the finest schools. I'm a graduate of Goucher College, a graduate of Beaver Country Day. So when it comes to pro-choice, no, I've read about it in the books too. It's a difference to read about it in the books and then to physically experience it. When you physically experience it and you feel that milk coming out of your breast, and then your employer tells you that you know what? We can't accommodate you to feed your child. Now this is my choice. Because who at the end of the day is taking care of that baby? I had a husband who told me he couldn't help me. I had a husband who told me he had to work in order to pay the bills. And you know what I said? You go to work, I will take care of this baby. But no, the issue of pro-choice is more than a woman's right. Why? It touches on economy. Who takes care of that baby? It touches
How about
on
contraceptive choice, Princess? How about contraceptive choice?
How many
and
times
thinking
does
prior
it
to
fail?
laying down?
How many times does it fail? How many times is a woman raped and it goes unreported? No,
I love the
you might hear it.
emotional argument.
It's not an emotional argument. It's a real argument because you can't physically carry a baby.
I hear you. This is a good
I'm sorry.
conversation.
It's just science. It's science.
It's time for black men to step into conversations like this. This is great conversation.
I have one point.
Let Martin comment. Come on, Martin.
I didn't want to interject because
Martin,
Princess is.
I need you to be the voice of reason.
So one, of course, Michael, you know I'm gonna be fair. I want you to share this research. I'm gonna give you my email. I'll read through the same research through your sources, right? No, I'm here, so I'll be objective in that light. But what I did want to say was when we talk about you mentioned a lot about God. I am a God-fearing man.
I
do believe in
mention
God.
a lot about God. I mentioned God three times.
No, there was definitely more than three. I counted probably at least five. The you and your God but that's fine. That's fine. I do believe in, of course, God, but I also believe in my free will and my freedom of choice, right? And Donnie, we had this conversation when it came to death with dignity, and so the one thing I would say is it seems like for me, I lived in Prince George's County most of my life, right? We are from a different generation, Michael. We're from a different generation.
Who's we? Who's we? Define we.
I mean, Princess and I, but I believe Princess and I are from a different generation than
Shorty like 35. Come on,
man.
Yeah,
than yourself. Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. I understand we as you and her now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
We're from a different generation, and so of course we view some things differently. When we talk about Prince George's County, I know Donnie's probably been aware. You remember when we first brought up, of course, the gay marriage legislation here in Maryland. Prince George's County wasn't for it. Why was that? Because Prince George's County has a lot of older church-going blacks, and they might necessarily have not come around to the idea of their nephews and their nieces, or some of them, right, being open and being loved openly, right? And so but now that has changed to some extent, but I think to the point is there's still a lot of those church going individuals, right, who claim to be loving, but when it comes to gay marriage, they have a completely different viewpoint, right? But hear me out. We've also seen that, I'm gonna be honest with you, I've also seen that some of the pastors, some of the reverends, they're in the community. So it's like, let's be real. You're gonna hate on gay marriage openly, but you yourself do gay activity. If that's not a hypocrite, and I'm not.
So Martin, I think what we're having is a discussion as media people to put the discussion on the table for our people and our viewers to discern. Because as I mentioned to you, I am pro-choice because I believe, and this is the sixth time, according to you, I'm invoking the will of God that Princess has to answer to her God for her choices, and I'm okay with that because God tells me not to judge. When it comes to gay marriage, we have to do a better job as media people of educating our people to do their research. And I'm going to send you data, but you know what? As a 80-year-old, as Donnie called me, with 14 grandkids, 7 kids, right? I lived in Prince George's County. I don't know if you knew that, Martin. Coached over 900 kids in the track and field program, right? So I understand what's happening out there.
Did you go to a mega church?
We as a people, what'd you say?
Did you go to a mega church when you lived here?
No, I didn't, Martin. No, I didn't go to a mega church. I'm not familiar with Anthony Muse's church and some of the other churches down there. I didn't go to a mega church. But my point is, we are media people, and we have to push the argument on our people to do better research on what it is that they're going to be asked to vote on that may not necessarily be us as a Black people's agenda. What's our real agenda? Is it economic viability?
I think it ought to
So
be
you're
about that,
pro-choice. So you do believe in a
about
woman's right to
economics.
choose.
I believe in the woman's right to choose and answer to her God. However, I am not into baby killing. If I lay down with someone like Princess, and if there's a choice, give me the choice of taking that child and having that child if she doesn't want to, or give us the choice of using some contraceptive method. When it comes to
So you're pro-life.
as
So
Princess
you're
said,
pro-life. So
Suppose
you're
the rubber
pro-life.
break, Michael. Suppose the rubber break.
then we have to be
Michael,
accountable
you're
for our
pro-life.
consequences. We have to be accountable for our consequences. If we were old enough and adult enough to lay down and have sex, right? And the condom breaks, Donnie, then what's the consequences? What's our upbringing that tells us what choices we have at that point? As Princess says, her overwhelming choice is a condition it does to her body, where it puts her career at. But maybe me as her boyfriend may say, well, baby, I really want this baby. Well, I don't want, well, hey, let us work through that. But I'm willing to take care of it. Maybe we need to be more responsible in the decisions that we make with each other as human beings.
You know, I have to
So he's
interject.
pro-life. You're
One thing I
pro-life.
will add is that we
Well,
know
speak for
that
me, Martin.
I mean, you
we,
use the words consequences.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
you
absolutely,
use the words
Martin.
consequence. Like it just sounds
I
like a
said, I
terrible thing.
said
Like
she
having
can
kids is a
have
terrible
her
thing.
choice. But if she's my woman, I'm going to influence that choice if she gets pregnant. If
but
she's
you
my
ain't got to
woman,
She
but
carry
if
the
doesn't have
baby.
the right to choose then.
You ain't got
but
to
I
carry
have
the
a
baby.
right to have a say, Martin. If we're together and we're in a relationship, I don't have a right to say
You
what's
should,
going
but it's
on
ultimately
You
here,
her
ain't
man.
carrying the
decision.
baby.
You know, Donnie said bring some reason and common sense to the conversation. That doesn't make
But
any
you're
sense
not
that you
carrying
have
the
a
baby.
woman that's pregnant and you don't have a say.
You know, Mike, I agree with you on that point. I believe that, you know, fortunately, if that happens and a man and woman have a child together, they should have conversations about what they
Absolutely.
think is for the future of of their children. But here's the thing. Scientifically speaking, we keep talking about a baby. An embryo becomes a fetus at the end of the 10th week of pregnancy. The fetal period begins at week 9 and lasts until
Where
birth.
you reading that
Most
from? Look like you
most
reading it off a screen, Prince.
most
Get real with me, man.
Oh,
Go
I
back
am
to
what?
Genesis. Go back
Stop.
to
No,
Genesis
hold
in
on.
the
Like
Bible.
Hold on.
you
Stop.
being,
Stop. Stop. Stop.
did
Because
you say
because
Genesis?
I know
Are you bringing up the
I know
Bible?
the book of Genesis, and
Are you bringing
I
up the
also know
Bible?
science. This
Look
has
here,
been
Prince.
scientifically hold on a minute. This has been scientifically studied.
Science.
This has been scientifically studied, and yes, I believe in science. And whether I can talk to you and I can read at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. It just makes me informed when we have a conversation. I think the notion that a woman is irresponsible if she becomes pregnant, and the assumption that contraception, that she may or may not have used contraception, or that if she used contraception that she's irresponsible because the contraception did not work, well, that's a fallacy. That's just ridiculous. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Contraception has been known to fail. I know women who tell me all the time, I was on control, and because of hormonal complications, I still ended up getting pregnant. I know people, we know that,
But you know
condoms,
that's a
we do know
possibility
condoms
when
break.
you do
But
that, right?
so, in general,
Like you
as
act
a
like you
people,
so damn pious
we
and like
know
you
that
ain't never had no off-brand sex.
He's a man of God. As he said, he's a man of God. And,
Like
and
he's
that,
so
that's why
damn
we're talking about the
safe.
different
Oh
generations,
my
the
God.
different
Like he's
mindset. I
safe.
mean,
Come on, Mike, keep it real.
I'm looking at this from a media perspective, but if y'all want to beat me up on that, go ahead, man. I can take it.
No, I'm not. Mike, I want you to know something. I understand where you are coming from. And I've heard this
I
rhetoric
appreciate
before.
that,
But I
Princess.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I really stopped to think about some of the propaganda. And here's why. Because I kept hearing over and over again from the Trump administration, and it's not just Trump, political right wing individuals, this subject of pro choice. And I kept asking myself, these people are standing here or sitting at these podiums on different networks, CNN, MSNBC, or they go into these rallies talking about their views. And I'm like, but none of them can carry a baby. None of them have. And and that's a huge presence. And don't get me wrong, not all women may agree with me. Some women will disagree. But here's where I stand. I've been abused, so I know what that's like. I can talk for the woman who's been sexually abused because I have. I can talk for the woman who's carried a baby for 9 months because I have. You know, and I can speak to those very diverse and cultural circumstances because not only am I educated and have my own business now, but I can also relate to those who don't. I can relate to the woman struggling. I can relate to the single mom trying to raise her kids, but all she has is a little bit of income and she's not bringing any money in, but she's the nurturer and she needs help. I can relate to those stories.
I love that.
So
That's the R&B 90s song. That's
so
the R&B 90s song. You
you
bought it.
know,
You bought
so
outside of
yeah, so like my views on on this topic is because of generationally speaking, and this is far greater than careers. It's the women who are sitting at home or they have to somehow forego a decision in order to raise these kids. It happens every day. I have to go to work. Oh, the baby just had a diaper accident. Where's daddy? Oh, daddy's gone to work. Now that might not be everyone's life, but I can tell you it's been mine. If my husband has to go somewhere and he has something to do, it's me. It's me who takes care of that baby since he was born. It was me who I was only the one who could breastfeed. And it was unfair of me to expect my husband to be able to do that. So I did it. And I championed the cause. I stood up and I made sure my baby was well fed. So, here's the thing. I consider myself a very good mother, but I'm also an educated woman. And I know that the topic of pro-choice, you see, the good thing about books is they also teach us how to take care of others, how to be there for other people. The reason why I am pro-choice is because I understand those stories of those facing really harsh circumstances. They're struggling to make ends meet. They come from families lacking, in the area of finances, education, or income. And I'm not saying that's a reason for any personal decision. What I am saying is the decision on what a woman should do with her body, the totality of decision. I believe it rests with that woman and that person, if she so chooses to talk to him about her body. It's her body. She has to carry it. You know what women go through when they carry? Some women experience complications. Geriatric pregnancies is common. Once you turn 35, more and more women are having babies after 35. Now they're dealing with geriatric pregnancies, and there's a lot of risk and complication to having babies. Women can die, and women have died. Kids have died giving birth. In other countries, this is a very sensitive topic just as much because it touches on a woman's right to use her own mind. This goes back to mind, intelligence. I'm intelligent enough to make a decision for myself. I don't need a mic equivalent to tell me what to do with my body. I think I'm very capable of saying what I want to do with it and how I should do with it. Here's another take on it. If you choose to lay down with me, you need to respect my right. You need to respect that. No, you chose to lay down with me, and this is my body. You don't get to tell me what to do.
Fair point. Fair
Yes.
point.
Hey,
I'd be careful about laying down with anybody that doesn't respect the life of a child. So you're absolutely right. So we wouldn't have that opportunity. And Donnie, it's been a great show. I hope the viewers, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear from Martin as he's getting.
You go, Princess.
Right? No, I'd love to hear the viewers argue these same points because it's important because there are two significant issues in the upcoming election, and we need to have value in our opinion. So, Princess, I respect what you say, regardless of whether I agree or not.
Well, I thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's firsthand experience versus book knowledge, and I think that's important.
There's one topic that we haven't touched that I have to ask you about. Larry Hogan, Angela Also Brooks.
It's a tough one. That's a tough one, man. And you got a popular,
What's so tough about it, Martin?
You got a popular former governor. I mean, so he's running.
Popular to who?
He's popular in the black community, whether you know.
I want to hear from Martin. Martin's a consummate politician out in Laurel, and he says that a black woman we've sat here and listened to a black woman, and then Martin is going to tell me that it's a hard choice between a white man and a black woman.
No. I didn't say a hard choice. I didn't say a hard choice. Well, I said it's a complicated
what did you say?
Let me correct the record. Let me correct the record. I'm myself voting for Angela Also Brooks.
Okay. But it isn't a hard choice.
when I say complicated, it's a complicated race because I feel that there's a lot more that Angela also Brooks and her campaign needs to do to secure a win in November. And when I say that because Larry Hogan, whether we like it or not, he left office with almost a 70% approval rating. And he has a lot of secret blacks for Hogan. He's had some who were open. I know that there's a lot of black folks, especially in Maryland, that will not vote for Trump. They'll vote Harris, they'll vote for Hogan, and then continue right on down the ballot. And so I think that there is a lot of work that Angela not only has to do in areas that she's not known, but also in the communities in which she's resided in which have been neighboring areas. So
Is
I mean,
she known in Prince George's County for supporting black business?
Sure. Yes. Definitely.
Well,
I can say personally,
Go
I
ahead, Martin.
visited a couple of the businesses and all over the county, and Angela's supportive. Either she's helped them get money, or she's been there for their opening, or help try to sustain
I'm
success.
talking about them contracts.
So there's a
Varying
university.
opinions.
There's a University of Maryland medical system contract that is being sued over for right now, as far as a radiology program and a no bid to a long time tenant at the Laurel Medical Facility. And this was dropped, I think, in the Baltimore Sun on the 19th, because one of the focuses in Prince George's County, the crown jewel is that Largo Center. We put a lot of money, and we're still putting a lot of money into that Largo facility. And so there are some people who might not necessarily like the bid program, the approval process, the contracts. There are some people who are benefiting from it, right? But at the end of the day, I don't know the breakdown on how many black contractors and as far as countywide. I don't know that breakdown. I guess
Because some of the people I've talked to in Prince George's County that deal with the contracts, they don't see her as having historically supported it. Number two, she came to power as a prosecutor, right? So her job was to lock up black people, correct?
Sure.
What does sure mean? That Johnny asked that question, that rhetorical question, and you say sure when the majority of Prince George's County is black. You got to quantify that, Mark. You just can't say something like that, man. Come on, man. Hey,
that's the job.
You're
That's the job.
That's
the
media person.
First of all,
don't
Mike,
just
Mike,
say yes
Mike,
to
Mike,
Johnny
you don't
when he
need
says it in your county is
Mike,
majority
first of all,
black.
you don't need me to quantify that.
Come
That's
on,
the job.
man. Come
That's
on,
the
man.
job
Don't
of the
do
prosecutor.
That, Martin. Don't
That
do
is
that.
the job of the prosecutor. What more do you want me to say to you?
Donnie said to lock up black people. Why would you say that? Why would you say her job is to lock up
What more
people?
would you like me to say? What does a prosecutor do?
No,
A
that's not
prosecutor
true,
is the
Donnie.
state.
Her
The
job
state
is to
versus the
lock up
individual.
people. Just like Kamala Harris, who was a prosecutor in California, was her job to lock up black people? Her job was to lock
Kamala's
up
job
all
was to
people.
lock up black people.
All people.
Not just
Donnie,
black people,
can I
all
answer
people.
your question about Hogan and also Brooke, please, since you said it was one that you needed to know before we got off the air, so that our people discern the matter importantly, because I think Martin gave a bit of misinformation relative to the 70% approval rating and many blacks contributing to that, where that 70% approval rating of Hogan was primarily a lot of the white Democrats in the northern part of Baltimore City and Baltimore County and Harford County. So he got a lot of the white Democratic support. Larry Hogan perpetrates a fraud. I supported him because he was the best choice comparatively his second term. Okay, but make no mistake, Angela also broke. Yeah, wow.
You voted against
Angela
Ben Jealous.
also
I didn't even know that.
I said I wasn't independent.
You voted against Ben
Angela
Jealous.
also
How
broke.
dare you question
hands
me?
down.
How dare you question me? You voted against Ben
You're
Jealous.
gonna let
You're
me
part of the
finish?
problem.
You're not
You're
letting me
part of the
finish. You
problem.
asked me to let you finish.
But you're part of the problem.
Angela also
Mike, you're being rude.
Angela also broke, hands down, is the better candidate, right?
Why?
She proved
Why?
to David Trone. She
Why?
proved to David Trump because I
Why?
believe that she will fairly represent all people. Just in a nutshell, I don't think Larry Hogan, whose self-interest, particularly when it comes to elite Republicans and whites, is going to represent all people. You know, in that regard, in the U.S. Senate. In addition to that, I think giving that Senate seat to the Republicans is going to be catastrophic to black people. It's important that we look at Angela. Look what she did to David Trone, who put $65 million into his campaign. She destroyed him, and I believe that she's going to destroy Larry Hogan. I don't think it's going to be a contest if we come out and vote.
So how did Larry Hogan change in 4 years? I'm just curious because
Maybe he
he's the
hasn't.
same person.
Maybe he hasn't.
I got you.
Angela also Brooks said that he didn't support pro-choice when he was the Maryland governor because he didn't sign the legislation to ensure that the state money or budget absorbed that. You know, they were on CNN and MSNBC the past couple of days. So Angela also Brooks, from a black woman's perspective, has a different take on Larry Hogan's legislation that affected pro-choice.
Princess, it looked like you wanted to say something.
Yes, sure. You know, I believe I understand what Martin is saying. I think what Martin might be saying, correct me if I'm wrong, because my opinion is both Angela Brooks and Larry Hogan are very competitive candidates. They're great candidates, the both of them. And I personally had the opportunity of working for Maryland's state government. And at that time, Larry Hogan was my boss. I worked for the state of Maryland from 2009 until 2018. And Larry Hogan was our governor of Maryland from 2015 until 2023. So he was my boss for roughly 3 years. And so my impressions of Larry Hogan, from what I've seen, I personally think he's non-biased. I like the way he presents himself. I like the way he answers questions. He seems to be able to separate, negative views. And I think he's a pretty upright candidate. However, when I think about what Martin has said, I believe that Angela Brooks may want to consider getting her message into all of the counties. I think that right now, a lot of people might not know who she is or what her campaign is about or what her political agenda is. And I think we need to know what her political agenda, and it needs to reach into Harford County. I live in Harford County, and I was recently driving down the streets of Harford County, and I see signs for Trump and Larry Hogan, and I'm not seeing a lot of signs for Angela Brooks on the streets of Harford County. So it's my opinion, if we're talking about what makes for a successful campaign, oftentimes it's getting your message. It's getting your message to the public. And right now, because Larry Hogan served our state from 2015 into 2023, it does give him somewhat of a political edge because people know him. And in order to run a campaign, people need to know you. They need to know who you are, and they need to know what you stand for. So I think she needs some help with just getting her message out there. I think that was what Martin was also touching on, that a lot of people don't know who she is. That's a problem. It's like in business. If no one knows your business exists, then they can't support it. So
that's why it's important that we're on this show talking about it. But are you supporting Angela Brooks, Princess?
Who am I voting for?
I didn't ask you that. I said, are you supporting Angela Brooks?
Mike, you ain't gotta be so nasty.
Hey, listen, I'm not being nasty, Donnie. Let my style be my style. She seems to handle it. Every time a woman gets in here, you gotta give cover. Like you don't have to breastfeed these women, man. Let them stand for their own.
Why breastfeed?
This is media, man. Let us be what
not all women breastfeed. Not all women breastfeed.
Well, I was talking about Donnie breastfeeding proverbially. I wasn't talking about
that's not very nice.
But my question was, he wasn't very nice either.
I understand.
My question was, are you supporting Angela Brooks? That's my only question.
I absolutely would support Angela Brooks. I told you I don't know enough about her. I'm going to be honest. I need to know more about her.
But you know about Larry Hogan.
But I told you that I worked for Larry Hogan in 2000 from 2000 2015 into 2018. He was technically my boss when I worked for Maryland State Government. That's why I know of him. And to be honest with you, I'm just stating the facts here because I worked for him for about 3 years. So I believe that he's an upright person. But at the same time, I believe Angela also Brooks has an outstanding resume. I believe that she's potentially fit to win, but her campaign strategy needs to reach all of the entire state. In order to win any campaign, your political presence is huge. We know who Trump is. We know who Kamala Harris is, but I can't say every Marylander knows who Angela Also Brooks is. That's a
Hey, well,
problem. That's
Princess,
a problem.
I really respect you. I want you to come on 60 Minutes in Black America. However, to me, you just negated much of your conversation prior when you did the comparative of a Larry Hogan versus Angela Also Brooke and black women that you mentioned.
I didn't negate anything.
Support, in my opinion, it's just
How
my
is that
opinion.
a negate because I worked for him?
It's my opinion.
Well, it's not a negate. It's perception. I worked for him for 3 years. So if you had a boss who you worked for and served under for 3 years, I told you I did. If you had a boss who you worked for, I worked for Maryland State Government. I worked for Baltimore County Office of Child Support Enforcement from 2009 until 2015. I then transitioned and worked for Maryland State Department of Education in collaboration with the Social Security Administration from 2015 to 2018. Well, who was leading Maryland at that time? Both Martin O'Malley prior and then Larry Hogan. So I worked for him, and so my opinion. So here's I didn't hold on because listen, I majored in communications and media relations, so I understand this whole journalistic rhetoric. I didn't negate anything. I told you that I worked for him. So when you work for someone, you automatically gain that firsthand understanding.
I know him personally. Hey, listen, I will share some things with you off of this
all I'm
call.
saying, hold on one second. I just want to be sincere here. I want to be sincere, and I want to be honest. All I'm saying, and I think I have a very valid, is that
but your sincerity,
Angela
in my
Also
opinion,
Brooks is a great woman.
You're beginning to get there.
We just need to hear more of her. We need to see more of her. And
and
so from a campaign strategy, we just need to see more of her. And I don't think that's a negative. I don't think that's because for those of you who don't know, when you say the word negate, it sounds negative. It is a negative connotation embedded in itself. So nothing negative is here. It's just a reality. In order to win, we're talking about winning. We're talking about winning. In order to win, you know what it takes. It takes presence, money and presence. So if I'm gonna champion for Angela Also Brooks, hold on a minute. She has an outstanding resume. She has an outstanding resume, and I support her. I support her. But at the same time,
like you say, I'm an old man, and I'm not gonna let your young self overtalk me in terms of what the reality is.
I'm not overtalking you.
She was talking and you cut her off.
I'm not overtalking you.
And have a good conversation.
I am not overtalking you. I'm a woman.
No, it's not about coming to a rescue.
No.
It's about letting her speak.
I'm a woman, and you associated me.
You said, go back and look at the tape because you wouldn't put her in check like you put me in check.
Donnie Glover asked for my opinion after you spoke.
Do, Donnie.
I love all of y'all. I just want to say that there's love in this room.
We love each other. There is love each other.
There's love in this room.
I respect. Listen. I understand that I am young, beautiful, and ready to work. But Mike, I want to say that I respect your point of view, and I thank you for your point of view. It's all balanced, and as a young woman, I am learning, constantly learning. I have my views too.
You sound like you patronize
and so I
me
thank
now.
you. Oh, that's not that's not patronizing. That is on. We are all on the same show, and I'm telling you, I understand your point of view, and I thank you for your point of view.
My ego don't need patronization. Call me what you think you need to call me.
That's not my character. I said I thank you for your point of view. That's not a. If you can't accept a compliment, I'm sorry to hear. I said I thank you for your point of view.
I respect you highly. I want you on my show.
I will be. I'm happy to come on your show. I'm happy to come on your show. But
you better be ready. You better take some iron pills, baby, because when you come on my show, we got a steel cage ring. We ain't got no Doni in there refereeing between stuff. You're gonna be exposed for who you are. Money's been there. Come on in
You know,
there with them, Martin.
I know people like
Hey,
you.
I'm
Like
I'm on it. I'm on it. You know,
you
man.
want to define
This
other.
has been
You
great,
want
you
to
guys.
attempt to define other
I've
people.
enjoyed it thoroughly. And Princess, I'm so proud of you because you held your
Thank
own.
you. I thank you.
And Martin
And
knows I
hold
love him.
on, Mike. And I held
Yes,
my
of
own in
course.
an environment of 3 very prominent black men. Huh. I feel so
Well,
supported.
Donnie's prominent. Martin's prominent. I don't know why Donnie invited me, but I enjoyed being here anyway.
Thank
No,
you.
What's up?
we all got something to offer. We all got something to offer.
Since we all on the topic, what's up with Westmore?
I don't know. What's up
He's
with him?
doing his thing. You know, being a superstar, doing his thing. Yeah, seems to be doing a good
What's your
job.
real question, Donnie? Come on, man. That's your real question. You want to
How
know
is-
about the Bronze Star? What do you want to ask, Donnie? Come on, get real.
How
Oh,
is he doing? How is he doing as governor?
I think
They said
he's doing
approval ratings are great.
pretty good. I think he's doing pretty good.
Is your life better? Are you getting state contracts? How are things going with you?
Well, I don't depend on this state. I did very well under Hogan, though. I did very well under Early. When the Democrats are governor, I just
We know because you cut a commercial for Hogan. You cut a commercial for Hogan and caught hell about it. Let's get real.
I only said the
And that
truth.
wasn't well received in the black community. Hey, listen, if we're gonna be transparent and open to the people, let's be transparent and open to the people. My media station is not doing no commercial for Moore, Hogan, or Also Brook, although we're endorsing Also Brook, right? Because media has to be in a place where people can discern what we see as the topics that are relevant to us as a black community. Other than that, we lose credibility.
What do we get? What do we get for supporting her?
What do we get?
Yeah.
We get the same thing we get for Ketanji, the same thing we get for Barack, the same thing we got for Clarence Thomas, the same thing we got for Thurgood Marshall, another black in a position of power, whether they agree with us or not, that may be relevant and important to many of us.
I disagree. I believe you get what you negotiate.
You asked me a question. I asked you to agree with me.
We get what we negotiate. A lot of times we go supporting people and we have no ask. You have to have an ask.
That's real. That's real, Donnie.
You know that. You and I have sat down with gubernatorial candidates, people running for this, running for that. We as a people, we as a black people, we have to understand we got to stop being political neophytes. When white people, Jews, when a Jew supports a candidate, you know that Israel, you know what the ask is. Israel is going to get more money than all of the countries in the Middle East combined. And speaking of Israel, it's going to be interesting to see if
Why
Kamala,
is that, Donnie? Why is that?
Because everything is happening in the Gaza Strip right now. The Israelis are bombing innocent Palestinians. There's a genocide going on. But Kamala coming into power.
Well, they said that the Palestinians bombed innocent. The Palestinians bombed Israelites, and they did on October 7th, of 2023. Hamas Palestinians bombed, or they bombed and took hostages in Israel. Man, they're not going through another Holocaust, and you have to understand where they are in that position, man. You got to understand.
Well, I thought the original Hebrews were black. I thought these people were converted into Judaism.
I don't know.
I thought they came to Israel in 1945.
Yeah.
I thought they came to Israel in 1945 and took those people land, and just like in South Africa, they made them live on the greasiest part of the land.
Huh.
I thought that's the history of it. They came from Eastern Europe. They're not originally from there. They're white. That is a black and brown land.
Huh. That's interesting, Donnie. That's interesting.
That's the history. And then there are the Phalacia Jews out of Ethiopia who are not even welcome there in Israel.
Well, Donnie, I think we have to remember we have to continue to remember that this show, your show, Donnie, is a show to educate Black people, right? Black people, particularly of issues that are paramount to our community. So you mentioned the presidential debate tonight. What should we be looking for, Donnie? What should we be looking for?
I think Kamala is gonna. I think she's gonna box him. I think she's gonna box him and come out looking real good.
Picture? You see that picture? You see that picture? He's a good friend, but I'm not voting for him. I'm not voting for him over a Black woman that looks like Princess, particularly if she has any substance and opportunity, because that's not what it's about on a show like this. Now, if there was something egregious about her, like some of our other politicians, sure. But when you look at Kamala Harris and Donald Trump in our community, it should be no question, regardless of what people said about her in California, regardless of what people said about her in Prince George's County. Donnie brought up the fact that it is true that out in Prince George's County, Black people have thought that she hasn't fairly doled out contracts, but we know Black people and Black politicians don't always have the power. Baltimore, Prince George's County, that stuff has been layered in for centuries. She does what she has to do. We have to look at what wins we get.
You sound like my daddy. He said, white people vote white given the choice. All I'm saying is, it's dangerous just to vote for somebody just because they Black. You still got to have an ask.
That's
you
real.
Still gotta have, you still got to get something in return. It's only right.
That's real, Donnie. That is absolutely real, Donnie. Mm-hmm. So what should we be looking for tonight, Donnie? What should we be looking for tonight?
Trump is I think he's going to go low. He's going to try to call her names. He's going to try to spit on her, but she's too smart for that. What do you think we should be looking for?
Well, I think that we should be looking for substance out of Kamala, which she has, and we should be looking for every reason to ensure that we support her, not only with a vote, but financially, man, because financial support is something that we as a community always lack, which is why we always find ourselves on the short end of the stick. Even though we vote, we don't have the capacity of putting money into campaigns so that there's an allegiance because of special interests, man. We got to realize, man, in order to really gain some momentum, we have to ante up as a people, man. We got to support not only with votes, but we have to support with money. You know, that's the way the system works.
Not to sound like I'm whining, but Trump should be locked up.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It shouldn't even be a contest between Trump and Kamala Harris. I don't think it's going to be close.
Kamala
Harris. There shouldn't be a contest between Angela Also Brooks and Larry Hogan. And I understand Princess worked for him for 3 years directly, right?
I'm gonna tell you, I was with him.
He was my boss.
I was with Larry Hogan.
For the governor, when I was working for Maryland State government, technically he was. Let me tell you, if it snowed in Maryland, who made those decisions? Larry Hogan.
Boyd Rutherford.
And I had to say, well, that is true. That is true. But
because he ran the operational aspect.
I know, but
you know what I'm
saying? Not, yes, but Larry Hogan also
Black
had
people in Baltimore to me. Black people in Baltimore like Larry Hogan, man. I was down Lexington Market with him. Black people were flocking to him. Angela Alter-Brooks got to do some more work. She need to get to Baltimore.
And she needs to get to Harford County. I want to answer your question, Donnie. So for tonight's debate, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how well each person answers questions. That articulation piece is huge. Some candidates come to these debates and they don't answer the questions. And then on top of that, I'm looking for, while it sounds very fundamentally basic, respect. I don't like, sometimes it's a little, for me, it's disheartening when I attend or listen to debates and I just hear them being negative about one another, saying all of the negative back and forth with no respect for each other. I don't want to see that. You know why? Because it's not substantive. And the Republican Party, from what I'm seeing, is they use negative commentary in an effort in exchange for answering the questions. And so what happens? It ends up being an unproductive debate, and that's not what I want to see. I want to see, kind of the same thing as Mike, but substantive answers paired with respect for one another, so that we can, as viewers, get to the heart of what matters most, so that people can
But
make
that's not
informed
good. That's not
decisions
what's good for
and not.
ratings, though. That's
I
not what's good for
understand, but you
TV
asked me
ratings.
what I would
You
like
know?
to see, as in,
Yeah.
Are we talking
that's
about
what I would.
ratings?
That's what I would
Democracy?
like to see, because aside from ratings, at the same time, we want to make sure, that the people are informed, and people. You know what else is not good for ratings? People tune out. They tune out. They shut the TV off when the debate gets too negative. I know I do. When it starts to get too negative and they stop answering questions, I'm like, this is not what I want to listen to. I want to
Not those
hear.
hillbillies. Those hillbillies love it.
That might be so, but at the same time, we want to cater to an audience of people who are going to stay up late. They have to work tomorrow. We want to respect their time. So we want to be respectful. In my opinion, I would like to see two candidates who are respectful of one another and give a good debate by answering the questions. That is what people are tuning into.
Would it change your mind about voting for Donald Trump if he conformed and did what you said and gave answers that were
He should be
relevant and
locked
appealing to
up. He
you?
is a traitor. He caused an insurrection. He got 34 indictments.
What
If
do
he
you
were a
think,
black
Princess?
man, he would already be locked up.
You've already made your decision, right, Princess?
Of who I'm voting for? Yes, I have. I have made my
Mhm.
decision. And Donald Trump, much of his rhetoric and much of what he has to say does not agree with my values. And so because of that, I know who I will be voting for. Kamala Harris.
What about if Joe Biden was there? Let's
Now,
put a what if.
I would vote for him too. Because you know what? I like Joe. I'm sorry, I do. I like Joe Biden. I like his spirit. I like his I like his heart of hearts. And when I think about what he did this year, he really paved a
What
way
did he
for a
do?
black woman. He paved a way for a black woman to become president.
Oh, you mean stepping aside?
Now, he didn't just step aside. He also made her his vice president. It started.
Right. That's real.
He made
That's
her
real.
vice president 4 years ago, and I believe that was a move that catapulted her into a position of leadership. Now she's able to run for president and campaign on legitimate policies that she has either participated in, signed off on, or campaigned with President Joe Biden on. So I believe that President Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. I just believe that he set Kamala up for success, and he did it 4 years ago. But we didn't see it. We didn't see it. We knew it could
Donnie
happen.
asked me a
None of us thought it would
question.
happen. Mhm.
Princess Donnie asked me a question about how were things over in Kenya. I've got a Kenya call. I do business in Kenya, Uganda. It's amazing the black people over in Kenya, particularly. You know who they are very supportive of?
Who?
Donald Trump. They believe that the U.S. has weakness in its leadership. They believe that we turn over too much. They and this is what people were saying. I was in Germany last year, the same thing, Trinidad. They seem to like the fact that Donald Trump can keep world order. That's what they think. They have a total misconception. Corruption is something that foreign countries are used to. So him being a corrupt leader is nothing new. Look at the leader and what's happening in Venezuela, and look what's happening in Russia. So corruption to the U.S., even though they lock up more black people here, is a contradiction than anywhere else in the world. Corruption around the world as it relates to Donald Trump is not something that people are concerned about. But they are concerned about who can keep in check Putin and Xi and some of these other world leaders that will erupt into a world war around this globe. So they like Donald Trump over in Kenya.
I got a phone call this weekend from a guy from years ago. I won't say his name out of respect, but his fear is that Kamala is a war hawk.
What does that mean? She'll fire the H-bomb?
She's ready to bust a cap in any foreign country, whether it's Iran. She's pro-Israel. His worry, his concern is that she's a war hawk. So People may
Let's
see.
hope so. Let's hope so. Let's hope she has those kahunas to do what's necessary, if it's necessary, right, wrong, or
Of
indifferent.
course she does.
Okay, because I don't know that.
You don't get to that level with some kumbaya stuff.
Yeah, I just know it's time for this country to be led by a woman, and it's profound that it's an African American woman who I'm proud to see. We've had women leaders in Germany, women leaders in the Philippines, women leaders in Great Britain, and here in the United States, the bastion of liberalism, defined by white people, white men particularly. We're finally at the cusp of electing a woman, and moreover, a black woman, man. I mean, how cool is that? How
she
cool
won't
is
have
that?
no problem busting a cap in anybody.
I pray she does.
Trump should be locked up. He shouldn't even be in the race. That's what baffles me. He's a traitor. He caused an insurrection. He almost killed his own vice president.
But Donnie, that's the influence of that's white America. Look at the Constitution of this country. Who sat around the table? 12 men, 32 men that look like Donald Trump. What do you expect? They wrote the rules. He plays the rules. So why would you expect anything to happen to him that wouldn't have happened to the writers of the Constitution that look like him? You know, God bless America, man. Two different Americas. And we have to understand that there's one America that is not intended for us. We have to understand that.
This is our America. Our veterans have gone out there and fought in every war this country has ever had. And we have a say. And it's time for us to assert ourselves.
Who are you defining as we, Donnie?
Black people. Black veterans have helped win every war in this country. We have a say. It's time for the white boy to share that mantle.
Donnie, it's been real, baby. I got to get ready for Africa, man.
Princess, thank you.
Hey, Princess.
Yes.
Princess. What's your business again? What's your website? Because I got to get in touch with you. You and I got to get to know each other better. And I'm glad you don't have a Boston accent either. I used to have a Boston accent, and I wasn't from there. But what's your website, Princess?
My website is...
Princess.
Yes.
I need you to send them an invoice first.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of invoices if it's appropriate at all.
Thank you. The name of my company is called Voiceover Inspires Entertainment. And you can search for it on Google. My website is my name, Princess We, voiceover.com. All one word, Princess We, voiceover.com. My email address for those who want to reach me is princesswevoiceover@gmail.com. It's the same as my website, except it ends with @gmail. princesswevoiceover@gmail.com.
Princess, I'll be in touch with you before midnight tonight via email so that we can connect. I'll share some things with you.
Yes.
And we'll get to know each other and continue to educate each other, because that's what's important. And I highly respect and appreciate the fact that you were mentored by Donnie, and I know that he has got to be very proud of you. But we're gonna make sure you're ready.
I thank you, Mike. Well, I thank you, Mike. It was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you today. Thank you so much.
Invoice.
Thank you, Donnie. Yes.
Up to date, down tomorrow. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning, world.
Good morning.
Thank you, Donnie.
Love
Thank you.